We're finally here, the long-awaited moment. So begins the end of Bleach, the 1,000-year Blood War arc. I've heard varying stories. It's no secret that Bleach's popularity was declining, so I imagine Kubo's editors told him that he had to end the series with the next arc, and so Kubo obliged. But how long this went on for, well, we'll get into that. All I'll say for now, and I will continue to say, if Kishimoto's the king of breaking his own rules, then Kubo's the king of wasting time. But we've got an arc to cover, so let's begin, shall we? We open with a typical day in Soul Society. Everyone's going about their daily lives when an attack happens. Ichigo arrives right away to rescue the two Soul Reapers, and we cut back to right before where Ichigo was hanging out with his friends. Alright then. Yamamoto is confronted by these guys, who are here to declare war. Ooh, ominous. Meanwhile, Ichigo is fighting a man named Yhwach. The Masked Man declares in 5 days that Soul Society will be destroyed by Vanderrick, or the Invisible Empire. Yhwach is driven back by Ichigo, and the Masked Men appear, and we meet our main villain for the final arc, Yhwach, who establishes his character by blowing off Looter's right arm. Wouldn't be Bleach if someone didn't lose a limb. In fact, Yhwach pulls, "You have outlived your usefulness" by killing both Yhwach and Looter's. Well, I guess this is a way to establish Yhwach's character. In fact, he's already claimed Hokumundo. Ichigo and the gang arrive there, minus Yoshida, and find Hokumundo absolutely devastated, or at least I think it's supposed to be. Hard to tell when Kubo doesn't draw backgrounds. So the captain, Colgate OP, what a name that is determining which Arancars can be recruited. He establishes himself as being pretty tough by incapacitating Loli and Manola. The army is made up of Quincy's. All those hints about Quincy's hating Soul Reapers are finally about to pay off. This does seem like it could set up some very interesting conflict between Ichigo and Uryu. Yhwach declares the invasion of the Soul Society to begin. The key difference between Soul Reapers and Quincy's is that a Soul Reaper cleanses the Hollow Souls and sends them to the Soul Society, while Quincy will wipe them out entirely. Interesting dilemma. Basically, to prevent the collapse of the world order, so the world of the living wouldn't outweigh the Soul Society, 200 years ago they wiped out all the Quincy's save a few. Back to Ichigo, he's fighting Colgate, and just as he's about to do a huge move, he gets interrupted by Aion, who tries to fight Colgate, who responds by turning into this grotesque form. Gross. He's about to pull off his major move, but Ichigo is able to stop him with his Bankai. Alright then. Oh, of course, the main reason Ichigo is fighting Colgate is so he can't show up to help defend the Soul Society. Classic keep your main character out of the picture sort of thing. In fact, that's explicitly Colgate's purpose as he mocks Ichigo while locking him in a cage. Ichigo can hear everyone calling out to him for help, and he's unable to do anything about it. Colgate attempts to stop Ichigo's friends, but he's rather quickly killed by Grimjaw. Go figure. Soul Society is absolutely trashed with Bakuya apparently dying. Yamamoto is really pissed, as evidenced by this incredibly huge panel. He finally uses his Bankai, but Yhwach stands his ground and reveals that he met Aizen! Dun dun dun! He tried to convince Aizen to join him, but Aizen turned him down. Oh great, Aizen's definitely coming back. That's just dandy. Yhwach cuts Yamamoto in half. You know, with Bleach, I can never tell if this will be fatal or not, but this time it is. Yamamoto is dead. Considering how terrible he was at his job, can't say I feel like mourning him. Ichigo arrives just in time to witness Byakuya's final moments. Or at least they should have been. Ichigo confronts Yhwach, but Yhwach absolutely destroys him in his weakened state. Ichigo gets back up because he's Ichigo. Yhwach drops a major bombshell, namely that he knows Ichigo's mother. Yhwach's senses are out of order because of what Aizen was able to do to him. Even when he's subdued to a chair, he still manages to be broken. The wounded are tended to, and Ichigo's Bankai seems irreparably broken. But he is told that if he goes to the Palace of the Soul King, he may be able to fix it. Hence why Ichigo is teleported to a hot spring of all places. That's a little weird. You'll heal them all up in good time. That was a nice ass shot there, Rukia. But all that is pointless as we finally get our first look at the Soul King. So getting to this place was much easier than Aizen would lead you to believe. Go figure. So now Ichigo and Renji they are eating. It serves a purpose. It's fortifying them for their training. It's like Toriko. Eating is training. The trial of Nemya, the inventor of the Zanpakuo. More exposition about the Zanpakuo. I mean, this is all leading somewhere, right? So we get some more insight. Kenpachi's character progresses a little bit. Much time is dedicated to Kenpachi fighting Unoha. And for the record, I don't consider this to be that bad, honestly. It's a worry progress, and in the end where he pleads for her not to die while she passes blissfully is good, for what it's worth. Meanwhile, Ichigo meets his father, Isshin, who decides that now is finally time to tell Ichigo about how he met his mother. Ooh, mystery. Renji's doing his own thing, but in my opinion, I feel it should be Rukia who's with Ichigo during this section. Let's go back to Ichigo and Rukia's interactions. That's what made early Bleach so good. Give me that feeling again. Anyway, the flashback reveals that Ichigo's mother was a Quincy. I'm assuming Kubo will do this to try to mend the world between Soul Reapers and Quincy's, and Ichigo will be the one who causes the mend, but as it turns out, there is no morally gray side to this at all. The Quincy's are pure evil monsters because, as we established, the Hollows are souls that can feel love and pain, so there's no moral ambiguity here. But Kubo manages to answer some lingering questions such as why Aizen sent Rukia, and how this all fit into his master plan, and also why Ichigo has his hollow powers. I guess that's a little bit of an explanation, but now Isshin is going to explain why Masaki died that day, 9 years ago. Basically, Yhwach was the reason she lost her Quincy powers. The flashback is quite informative, and we get a lot of information about how Ichigo's parents met, and just what happened that night. It's well done. Meanwhile, Yhwach welcomes their newest member, Yuryu Ishida. Ooh, now things are getting interesting. This has been teased for so long, a confrontation between Ichigo and Ishida. Now that can be really good and give the final showdown some much needed emotional gravitas. It turns out Ichigo's Zangatsu represents his Quincy powers, and it is Yhwach from 1,000 years ago. I don't even know. Should I be amazed, outraged, in between, or just confused? Or maybe all of that. Zangatsu explains that he wanted to keep Ichigo from becoming a Soul Reaper, but had a change of heart and decided to support his development. I guess that works. Yhwach reveals that Ishida will be his successor, a decision that the rest of the Sturm Ritter don't take too kindly to. Rukia and Renji are training together, and Chad and Orihime are talking about how peaceful it is, but it's always a calm before the storm. Yhwach declares to Ishida that this will be the last 9 days of the world. This is what many consider to be the end of the first act of Bleach's final arc, and it sets up some pretty promising things. Questions are answered, and it feels like the major battle is about to come. The only major misstep is that Bakia is alive, one that I suspect is because Kubo was told not to kill him by his editors. So we get more exposition, particularly how Hollows are poisonous to Quincy's, and so their Bankai should become poisonous to Quincy's if they absorb their hollow power. Makes sense, I guess. Of course, Yhwach predicted this because of course he did. Ichigo now has this kind of clothing. A little tacky, but I get the point. Of course, he's late for the battle, so he has to hurry up. Can't have the hero be there from the beginning. Now this arc goes into standard fighting. Some minor things happen that I don't find worth noting. I guess we're getting the smaller battles out of the way first, but knowing Kubo, this is just the beginning of his pacing problems. So Rukia and Renji get to fight next. Renji does a fairly good job. It happens. Rukia is able to avoid falling to fear like her brother because her sword allows her to be technically dead so she can't feel fear or something. I don't even know how that works, so I'll simply say, yeah, sure, why not? But Rukia doesn't quite finish the job against Az. How do you pronounce that? But Byakuya shows up to save her. You just couldn't let her have this, could you, Kubo? You just had to fall back on having Big Brother show up to save Rukia. Again! Oh, he's actually not going to do that. I misspoke. Well played, Kubo. So as Az dies, he seems scared of what awaits him. Very real. And Rukia is, well, whatever this is. Kenpachi's fight is, well, it's alright. Nothing too notable. I'm just like, okay, Kubo, don't make me wait too long for the main event, please. You really don't need to drag this out. Kenpachi is on the brink of death, but just in the nick of time, Ichigo arrives. Well, good. Hopefully this means the arc will start picking up again. But as it turns out, because Ichigo is wearing oaken clothes, this will allow Yhwach to invade the Soul King's palace because it broke the barrier between the two, so yeah, Ichigo screwed up. It's here that Ichigo and Ishida finally confront one another. Alright, good timing, Kubo. I do like how Chad tells Ichigo that Ishida must have his own reasons for joining him, but it won't change anything. He's their friend and they're going to get him back. Of course, then we get Orihime's big boobs played for her sex appeal. Well, that's Japan for you. Yhwach, Ishida, and forgive me if I'm pronouncing this wrong, Hashwolf enter the Soul King's palace. So it's here at this point that for all the potential this arc showed, how promising it all started, this is where it all goes wrong. So instead of continuing with the main bad guys invading the Soul King's palace, We instead get a story where some Soul Reaper captains have to fight their zombified allies. Zombies. I am so sick to death of zombies. One of the most overused tropes in anything. I'm sure the next one will be what we want to see. Come on, Kubo. Don't pull this shit again. Not again. What the hell am I looking at? Let's never speak of this again. Alright, finally, back to Yhwach. He's fighting the Divine Soldiers. Surely this will be good. And now we cut back to Ichigo and his friends about to be launched into the Soul King's palace. Okay, and now we cut back to Yhwach against the Royal Guards. This should be good. More unimportant characters fight. Come on, Kubo, get with the program here. Stop dragging this out. Oh god, I still got 85 chapters left. How? How can you drag this out much longer than it needs to be? Some bizarre mood whiplashes. Is this supposed to be funny? I'm confused. I swear Byakuya looks exactly like Sasuke did in the last. Ugh. Yhwach just absolutely owns the Royal Guards, and why do I feel like nothing is happening? Panels are wasted with huge double-page spreads, focusing on characters that we know don't really matter. Where the hell is Ichigo? Oh, okay, there he is. I almost forgot that he was supposed to be the main character. He says this guy whose name I don't bother remembering from depth by saying his name because reasons. Yeah, he can do that. Sure, whatever, why not? Just give me Ichigo versus Ishida, Kubo! So Ichigo and the gang arrive just as Yhwach impales the Soul King. I would have thought that impaling the Soul King would be a little harder than that, but I guess not. We are officially in the end stages of this arc. Gotta say, for an arc that went on for 4 years, this feels incredibly rushed. But Ichigo and the gang finally confront Yhwach. Alright, finally. We're getting to the good stuff. Just please don't cut away to something else. Also, one thing that annoys me, Rukia should be with Ichigo's gang, not with the other captains. Call that personal preference if you'd like, but that's just how I feel. Anyway, don't cut to something else, and that's exactly what you did. Arrgh! Come on, Kubo, stop dragging this out with bullshit and just get to the fight! Alright, that respite was brief. Ichigo goes to pull the sword out of the Soul King, but finds that he can't because the part of him that's Quincy refuses to because... well, just because. So Ichigo is part everything in this series, isn't he? Basically, with the Soul King dying, everything is going to disappear. I guess that makes sense. With no options left, Yukatake says that he will take Ryo's place, because his powers allow him to do that for some reason, and oh god, I don't care! Anyway, Shinju lets Aizen out, and Aizen just takes off the rest of the seals himself. Oh goody, it's going to be Yhwach's broken-ass bullshit versus Aizen's broken-ass bullshit. Who's gonna win? Where's Ishida? Yhwach doesn't take this well and shouts at Ichigo to destroy the Soul Society, but Ichigo says that he will protect everything. But Ishida finally shows up, and it seems we are at long last going to get our confrontation between Ichigo and Ishida, and it's just been cruelly teased. Meanwhile, Rukia and the other captains are not happy about enlisting Aizen's help. But Shinsu points out that they need his power. What's the old saying? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. But of course they don't trust Aizen, so they render him immobile. That didn't last very long, now did it? Meanwhile, Ichigo awakens and finds himself face to face with Grinjaw. Oh goody. Turns out he wants to kill Ichigo himself, but can't do so if Hokamundo is destroyed. Meanwhile, Yhwach completely absorbs the Soul King's powers and has taken over the Soul King's palace. You know what the problem is? This should be a huge deal, right? The bad guy is taking over the world, and yet you feel no tension, no sense of urgency, no worry for our heroes and how they'll make it out. You're not hooked. You're just complacent as you read, and wondering when this will finally end. Ichigo's been here, but he hasn't really done anything of note yet. And at this point, I got 5 volumes left to go in the series. So, next volume. Again, some unimportant characters are fighting. Like, come on, Kubo, stop dragging this out and get to the conflict that people want to see. Not to mention, it feels like we're into the same trap Kishimoto had with Madara. We have 3 villains here with incredibly overpowered bullshit. One's power, see all possible features and I determine the outcome. One is any damage I take is transferred to my opponent and they take bonus damage on top of that, and get stronger when they hit me instead of taking damage. Just, how exactly do you expect anyone to beat that? So after all that, we still don't focus on the fighters that matter. What's happening here? A lot of nothing, I tell you. Nothing! It's just these characters that we don't care about fighting while the ones we want to see are in the background. Come on, Kubo, you had such good build-up and you're squandering it. Where's Ichigo versus Ishida? Where's the whole morally gray aspect of the war? Or are we just going with full-blown bad guys because screw morality? Speaking of Ichigo, this is the final arc and he's the main character of the series, right? He's barely done anything in this arc. He's just been going from place to place looking for his next fight. Just come on, Kubo. Do something. Have someone do something.
Do something. Do something. Do something.
Okay, there's Ichigo. Is he gonna do something? No, we're going back to the unimportant characters. I gotta admit, I'm skimming this stuff. Just give me the good stuff, Kubo. We've only got less than 40 chapters to go. So once again, it's not just Ichigo, but it feels like the main cast of Bleach is getting pushed aside for the supporting characters. This is the final arc, Kubo. You should be having your main characters do most of the heavy lifting. Instead, they're just doing nothing or getting rescued. Oh, finally, Ichigo and Iryu confront each other. I've had to wait through all that padding, and now we're finally at the good stuff. So, at long last, Ichigo and Ishida begin to fight. Good God, that took way too long to get there. But there will be no conflict, because Ishida reveals that he never truly turned traitor, and that he's planning to take the whole compound with him. Well, what a cop-out. At that moment, we focus on Urahara versus Asukin. As it turns out, Urahara's Bankai has the ability that they exactly need to counter Asukin's poison because, well, ain't that convenient. Urahara is able to get Grimjaw to rip out Asukin's heart, but this somehow doesn't kill him right away, but both Urahara and Grimjaw are beginning to die, with Urahara stating that he's leaving everything to Ichigo and Rukia. Remember that's a very important note. Girard is too overpowered for this world, so he's defeated in a three-way battle between Hitsuga, Bakio, and Kenpachi until he's revived in a monstrous form for some reason. Now Ichigo finally confronts Yhwach. Yeah, we have a little bit over 10 chapters to go and we haven't started fighting the final boss yet. Yhwach claims to be Ichigo's true parent. You know, I felt Aizen was the one who manipulated Ichigo's entire life, so if Yhwach was manipulating Ichigo and Aizen was manipulating Ichigo's life, then who was pulling... oh god, I don't care. Ichigo and Orihime have managed to get to Yhwach without any kind of resistance. At all. Come to think of it, has Chad done anything at all? It really feels like Kubo regrets ever making Chad a main character. People say Sakura's useless. I think Chad's way more useless than her. So Ichigo and Yhwach are finally beginning to fight. Byakuya sends Rukia and Renji to aid Ichigo, and Isshin and Ryuken arrive on the scene. So Ichigo and Iryu's fathers are here to save the day. This would be great if, we actually saw what they were doing on panel instead of it being off screen! Could have made the parallel of a Soul Reaper and a Quincy coming together be more meaningful, but no, you just had to do it off screen. So the true terror of the Almighty is not to see the future. Oh god, I don't like where this is heading. So Ichigo charges at Yhwach and becomes... What the hell is this? This is Ichigo with all of his powers combined! But he looks so...
stupid.
Not quite the word I was looking for, but that'll do. Yhwach gives the typical villain speech about despair, but Ichigo's heard enough of that and activates his Bankai. But Yhwach is able to sustain it and reveals the Almighty is about the power to alter the future. Excuse me for a moment. Continuing on. Meanwhile, Iryu is not doing so well against Haschwalth. Yeah, he can transfer damage he takes to his opponent. Where's the challenge in that? Yhwach drains Ichigo of his Hollow and Quincy powers, so all seems lost. Rukia and Renji arrive to help Ichigo. In fact, Iryu is only saved by the fact that Yhwach decides to take Haschwalth's power. Why? I will admit I do like the moment where Iryu says that he considers Ichigo a friend. They've come a long way. All seems lost when the Fullbringers arrive and repair Ichigo's sword. Where the hell have you guys been? Yhwach goes to Soul Society and finds Aizen waiting for him. Ryuken and Isshin give Iryu a silver arrow. Is this the same silver arrow that Link used to kill Ganon? Before Aizen and Yhwach can fight, Ichigo and Renji follow Yhwach through. Where the hell is Rukia? I thought Rukia was teased to have a big role in this fight, so it's Ichigo, Renji, and Aizen versus Yhwach. Should be Rukia instead of Renji. Why is it not Rukia? Anyway, Yhwach blows a hole straight through Ichigo's chest. Should be used to this by now. Or not, it was Aizen posing as Ichigo. But it doesn't work. All is lost when Iru shoots Yhwach with the Deus Ex Machina Silver Arrow. Ichigo cuts Yhwach in half and... that's it. That's the end of the fight. But...
Where's the kaboom? There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom!
Where's the wrap-up? Where's the characters celebrating? I mean, Naruto gave a very rushed wrap-up, but it was better than this. Not that great, mind you, but at least it was something. Oh, 10 years later. Oh god, the epilogue again. Every time authors do a many years later epilogue, it never goes well. It turns out it's Rukia's ceremony to be promoted as captain. Oh good, but you still did her dirty, Kubo. Anyway, it's time once again to talk about shipping, so take it away, Jonah!
The internet's rife with footage of Spider-Man chasing the Black Cat across the rooftops. And apparently, there are hordes of young people cheering them on. They're called shippers. No, that has nothing to do with boats. It's short for relationship. As in, they really want Spider-Man and the Black Cat to be together romantically. Or they really don't. And they have quite intense arguments about it. Flame wars, I believe is the term. You know, in my day, we didn't have time for flame wars about shipping. You know why? Because we had jobs. So here's J. Jonah Jameson's public service announcement to our youth. You're into shipping? Join the Navy!
Yep, I'll never get tired of using that. Ichigo and Rukia are all together for a reunion. Chad is a boxer now. That's fitting for him, I suppose. Did he do anything at all in this final arc? Why was he billed as a main character? Iru is now a doctor. Okay, sure. Ichigo and Orihime are married and have a son. Well, let's start off by saying when it comes to this pairing, I'm neutral. I suppose it has the same problems as Naruto and Hinata, where there's enough to say that she liked him, there's nothing to suggest that he felt the same way. And this time there's no movie to explain how he fell in love with her. Though considering how that turned out, maybe that's a good thing. What I will give Ichigo and Orihime over Naruto and Hinata is that during the final battle, Orihime was the one by Ichigo's side first, and the manga at least directly acknowledges it on panel. Rukia and Renji also have a daughter. That's random. I mean, to be honest with you, I never really saw them as romantic. I always saw them as more of a comrade thing. Don't get me wrong, this is way better than Sasuke and Sakura because Renji at least respected Rukia and never tried to murder her, and Rukia never acted like a dog around Renji. And at the very least, Kubo gave Ichigo and Rukia shippers a reminder that they are still good friends and their relationship hasn't changed. And also, to be perfectly honest with you, I never saw Ichigo and Rukia's relationship as necessarily romantic. If it went that way, sure, that'd be fine, but they didn't necessarily have to be lovers either. Now we have Aizen summing up the themes of the series. I understand it, yes, to live in fear of death is without hope, but why in the world are you having Aizen do it of all people? In fact, why is he helping them at all? Don't tell me it was explained in one of those novels, I don't care if it was. Why was this all so rushed? Well, that's the unfortunate reality. Kubo was in very declining health, which is why the final battle in the manga was so incredibly rushed. The life of a mangaka is taxing and demanding. You work 6 days a week for maybe over 12 hours a day and get maybe 3 hours of sleep. It's not the kind of life one should lead. Or I've heard he was told to wrap it up in 2 weeks due to Bleach's declining popularity. Maybe it was both, I don't know. For answers to this, I went to Kubo himself. Let's see what he has to say.
Get out of my office!
So, now, let's just go into exactly what went wrong with this arc. First up is pacing. Pacing is a serious issue once again. This arc lasted for 206 chapters, and despite a very strong beginning, the arc meanders after a while. It starts with a great setup with interesting lore about the Soul Reapers and the Quincy's setting up what really promised to be a really dramatic and interesting climax. But all that is thrown away. Kubo instead focused on the Soul Reaper captains again at the expense of the other characters. Let's go into some of them, shall we? Ichigo is supposed to be our main protagonist, right? Well, in this arc, he doesn't really get a whole lot to do. He shows up, you think of what would be the major turning point of the arc, then he just kind of races to wherever Yhwach is while the story proceeds to not focus on him. You see, in the Iron Claw arc, there was an attempt to give Ichigo a character arc. It wasn't well executed, but he tried. In this arc, stuff just kind of happens around him,
And he feels more like a reactionary protagonist than anything else.
The fact that Yhwach was essentially the person responsible for his mother's death was a great idea, and I thought this would give Ichigo and Yhwach a real enmity going forward, but instead it barely comes up as per typical of Kubo. For else Naruto's final arc focuses way too heavily on Naruto and Sasuke, Bleach's final arc focuses way too little on Ichigo. It pretty much gets to the point where you wonder, is Ichigo even still the main character? The other character he woefully ignored has got to be Iryu. Each arc is focused on Ichigo and another member of the main cast. Soul Society was Rukia, Arrancar was Orihime, Full Body Agent was supposed to be Chad, but that went nowhere. So this arc was supposed to be for Iryu, and he barely shows up. Seriously, characters who don't matter to the narrative have far more prominence than the member of your cast who's a freaking Quincy! You had Ichigo and Iryu's fathers teaming up to save their sons. This could have been a great way to show peace between Soul Reapers and Quincy's. Instead, it was mostly all screen while they pick up the Deus Ex Machina arrow. Let's talk about Rukia for a moment. Remember when she was the second main character after Ichigo? Good times. Better than these. I'm of the belief that Bakio should have died at the beginning of this arc, and it's pretty clear to me that that was the intention. But I'm assuming that the editors insisted that Bakio survived due to his popularity, even though he doesn't do anything too noteworthy afterwards. Rukia gets her shining moment in her fight with Oz, but after that she doesn't do anything. Instead of Renji with Ichigo, it should have been Ichigo and Rukia fighting Yhwach together, with maybe Aizen helping out. Why does Rukia not go with them? While I admit I didn't see Ichigo and Rukia as romantic, the heart and soul of early Bleach was their interaction, and we really got significantly less of it as the series went on. Really cost Bleach a lot of its soul. One thing I hope the anime changes, have Rukia go with Ichigo to the final battle and expand it a little bit. Why did this arc need to be over 200 chapters anyway? You could have easily shortened it to half the time and get the story and pacing down at a much faster rate. There was no tension in anything. Moments like the Soul King dying should have been huge oh my god moments, but instead we cared nothing when it happened. There were tons of unanswered questions, the character resolutions aren't very satisfying, and overall, what was the point of any of it? The only thing I can say is, what a waste. So overall, that's Bleach. Starts off promising, but slowly meanders over time. Like I said, Kishimoto's problem was adding too much shit into the story. Kubo's problem was not focusing on what was really important. The huge cast of characters certainly didn't help. I know introducing a new character is how he dealt with writer's block, but always felt like Kubo mistook quantity for quality. After this, it seemed Bleach was finished, but there has been some renewed interest. The anime is supposedly coming back sometime this year, even though we haven't heard anything about it since it was announced. Although I wouldn't be surprised if the pandemic pushed things back a bit. Kubo has released some spin-offs of Bleach, which I've heard were well received. Maybe I'll take a look at them someday, but not today. So maybe there's life for Bleach in spite of everything. Time will tell. So, my journey through Bleach? I can definitely see why this was regarded as the worst of the big three. Had a lot of promise, but just didn't live up to it. Well, now I'm finished with Bleach, which manga will I tackle next? I think a short series is in order. One that I can do in one video. Next will be a look at Death Note, then I will start Yu-Gi-Oh! But I got some other projects to finish first, so look forward to that. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please hit that bell, like, and subscribe button. If you want updates, follow me on Twitter or join my Discord, which are provided in the description below. See you next time.